Welcome to The Critical Path, Project Management and Leadership in Complex Environments. Episode 33. Empathy is not soft. The leadership skill that keeps project moving. Today on The Critical Path, we are talking about empathy as a way of leadership. Not empathy as a personality trait. Not empathy as being endlessly nice. And definitely not empathy as avoiding difficult conversations. In complex programs, empathy is a leadership capability. It helps us understand what people are really experiencing. Pressure, uncertainty, fear, conflicting priorities, hiding constraints, and unspoken risks. That matters because projects rarely fail only because of the plan. They fail because information arrives late. People stop speaking honestly. Stakeholders protect positions and leaders miss the human signals behind the data. Empathy in leadership is often misunderstood. Some people hear the word and think it means lowering standards, accepting excuses, or becoming emotionally soft. But that is not what effective empathy means. In leadership, empathy means the ability to understand another person's perspective well enough to lead them, challenge them, support them, and make better decisions. It's not agreement. It's not sympathy. It's not taking ownership of everyone else's emotions. It is disciplined perspective taking. For program leaders, project managers, engineering leads, and functional heads, this matters because delivery is not only a technical system, it is a human system. We can have a strong schedule and value data, risk registers, governance board, configuration control, and supplier reviews, and still miss what is really happening if people don't feel safe enough to tell us the truth. The evidence is useful here. A leadership research analyzed thousands of leaders across multiple countries and found that managers who show more empathy towards direct reports were rated as better performers by their bosses. In other words, empathy was not separate from performance. It was linked with it. Google reached a similar conclusion from a team effectiveness angle. Their research found that what mattered most was less about who was on the team and more about how the team worked together. Psychological safety, whether people felt safe admitting mistakes, asking questions, or offering ideas, was the first dynamic of effective teams. That is where empathy becomes practical. A leader who lacks empathy may look at a late milestone and say, "Why are you behind?" A more empathetic leader asks a better question. What is making this harder than expected? And what have we not understood yet? That question does not remove accountability. It improves diagnosis. A real-world example is Microsoft under Satya Nadella. Microsoft's own description of its cultural shift highlights the move away from a high competitive know-it-all culture towards a learn-it-all culture where contributing to the success of others became more important. Nadella also placed empathy at the center of his leadership philosophy, describing it as a human quality that becomes more valuable as technology disrupts the status quo. The lesson is not that empathy alone transforms Microsoft. That would be too simplistic. Strategy, technology, market timing, cloud, talent, and execution all mattered. But empathy helped create the cultural conditions for learning, collaboration, and adaptation. And that is the leadership lesson for complex projects. In major programs, empathy shows up in 3 areas. First, risk. Empathy helps leaders hear weak signals before they become formal issues. People usually know something is wrong before the dashboard turns red, but they may not say it if the culture punishes bad news. An empathetic leader makes it safer to escalate early. Second, stakeholder management. Stakeholders don't only have requirements, they have pressures. Finance wants control. Engineering wants technical integrity. Commercial wants protection. Operations want, usability. The customer wants confidence. Empathy helps you understand the pressure behind the position, which makes negotiation more intelligent. Third, performance. Empathy allows a leader to separate unwillingness from overload, lack of capability from lack of clarity, and resistance from genuine concern. That distinction matters. If someone is avoiding accountability, you challenge it. If someone is overloaded, you rebalance. If someone is confused, you clarify. If someone is afraid to speak, you change the environment. Recent research on empathetic leadership also links it with innovative behavior, partly through career adaptability, concern, control, curiosity, and confidence. That is important because complex projects need people who can adapt, learn, and solve problems, not simply follow instructions. But empathy needs boundaries. Empathy without accountability becomes over-accommodation. Accountability without empathy becomes fear. The leadership sweet spot is both. I understand the constraints, and we still need to make a clear decision. So the practical leadership move is this. Listen first, diagnose properly, then act clearly. This week, try an empathy audit in one meeting. Pick a project review, supplier conversation, or one-to-one. Before jumping to a status, ask 3 questions. What is harder than expected? What risk are we underestimating? What do you need from me to make the next decision clearer? Then listen without immediately defending the plan. You are not looking for comfort. You are looking for better information. Empathy is not about making people feel good for the sake of it. It is about creating the conditions where the truth can travel faster than the problem. To conclude, empathy is not a soft alternative to leadership. It is part of leadership. In complex projects, the leader who understands people get better data, earlier escalation, stronger trust, and more honest conversations. The point is not to choose between care and performance. The point is to understand that sustainable performance depends on people being able to speak, think, challenge, and recover. The plan tells us what should happen. The data tell us what has happened. Empathy helps us understand what people have not said yet. And very often, that is where the critical path really is. Thanks for listening to The Critical Path, project management and leadership in complex environments. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow or rate the show on Spotify and share it with colleagues who work where reliability matters most. See you on the next episode of The Critical Path.